Hey everyone, happy day after the Super Bowl or unhappy day after the Super Bowl, depending on your perspective. Since for me it is actually Super Bowl Sunday right now, and well before the game has officially begun, I have no idea who came out ahead. And that's okay, because this year it's all about the food for me. Bring on the calories. Speaking of sad states of affairs, let's chit chat a little bit about writer's block and how to get over it. In case you're not entirely sure what it is, in which case, lucky you, I've included an awesome analogy opening link below. But for all of you who understand all too well what writer's block is, let's get right down to KOing it. Here are 5 steps to taking it down. Number 1, write anyway. I know that we talked about this in last week's video, getting past the writer's blahs, but it's worth repeating anyway. Sometimes you just have to soldier through about a writer's block. It might feel unnatural, it might feel like a complete and total waste of time, but it can be a very powerful writing exercise anyway. The very act of clicking your fingers across the keyboard or moving your pen across a piece of paper can be really inspirational, whether you know it or not while you're doing it. It might take 5 minutes of this to overcome writer's block. It might take 10 minutes, or it might even take 15. And admittedly, you might not even know you're over it until after you've walked away to sob hysterically over your consolation bucket of chocolate chip cookies. Or is that just me? Regardless, when you come back to your writing the next day, there is a decent chance that you are completely and totally cured. Don't ask me for a scientific rationale for this freeing phenomenon, but it's often effective nonetheless. So try it out. This one's going to sound a bit contradictory considering number 1, but number 2 is take a break. If you've been powering through your manuscript for weeks on end before you hit a writing wall, you might have just burned yourself out. It happens. No worries. In which case, step away from your story and call a friend. Go outside and see the sunlight for once. Just do something to give yourself a real break before you try again. You might find that your rested brain has overcome writer's block all on its own, which would be awesome. If not, try talking it out. This is number 3. It really doesn't matter whether you talk it out with a fellow writer friend or with a non-fellow writer friend. Either way, I've been able to overcome writer's block by simply explaining my exact dilemma and then rejecting every single suggestion the poor person came up with. Because they were not inside my head or even inside my story, their actual input admittedly was not all that helpful. But their time, that was more valuable than I can possibly say. The act of explaining the problem to someone forces you to evaluate it in a way that you otherwise wouldn't have to. Your brain has to approach the problem from different angles when you are trying to detail it for someone else, which allows you to see your way past it. Number 4, read over what you've already written. Normally, this is something that I strongly caution against. The tendency to read over previous chapters of a not yet completed manuscript tends to lead to premature editorial work, which tends to lead to never actually getting your first draft done. That's bad, just for the record. Sometimes, though, it is very helpful to be reminded of where we came from in order to know where we still need to go. So, if you're struggling to overcome writer's block, feel free to review what you've got. Just make sure that reviewing is all that you do. Don't get caught up in an editorial frenzy. That's for later. And finally, number 5, skip ahead and write a future scene. Do you have a particular plot point that you're really, really looking forward to writing? In that case, you can overcome writer's block by temporarily bypassing writing what you have no clue how to write by writing what you already do know how to write. More than likely, you'll end up including something that needs to be established back where writer's block struck, bringing your creative genius right back online. If none of that works for you, or if you need an additional bout of encouragement, how about asking your friendly neighborhood editor to schedule in some pep talk brainstorming sessions? After having to overcome writer's block myself so many times, trust me, I'm good at this. You'll be in great hands. So all you have to do is go to www.innovativeediting.com and go to the contact tab and reach out. I would love to hear from you and hear about everything that you're writing and working on. All right, until next Monday, have a wonderful week, regardless of how the Super Bowl went. Bye.